Turn up the fear factor because Quick Scare is about to take you on a journey into the unknown. Get ready to lose yourself in the eerie ambience of our spine-tingling narrations. I never thought I'd be sharing my story here, but I need to get it off my chest. I've been living a nightmare for the past few months and I'm starting to lose my mind. It's about my crazy ex, and I can't believe the horror she's brought into my life. So, let me start from the beginning. We'll call my ex Emma for the sake of this story. Emma and I dated for about a year, and it was one of those whirlwind romances that seemed perfect at first. But as time went on, I started to notice some unsettling behavior. She was possessive, jealous, and had a temper that could flare up at the slightest provocation. Eventually, things got so bad that I had to end the relationship. I thought that was the end of it, but little did I know, the nightmare was just beginning. Emma didn't take the breakup well, to say the least. She would send me endless messages, leave voicemails, and even showed up uninvited to places she knew I'd be. I decided to block her on every social media platform and change my number, hoping that would be the end of it. For a while, it worked. I started to move on with my life, and things began to feel normal again. But then, the messages started coming from new numbers, and I started receiving letters in the mail. Emma was relentless, and I felt like I was being watched. One night, I was home alone and I heard a knock on the door. I cautiously approached and looked through the peephole. To my horror, there she was. I didn't open the door, but she just stood there staring at it. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. That incident escalated everything. The police issued a restraining order and I began living in constant fear. I installed security cameras around my house and changed my routine, but it didn't stop her. She would still find ways to send creepy messages, leaving me wondering how she was managing to bypass all the precautions I had taken. One day, as I was going through my usual routine of checking for any signs of her presence, I found a small, nondescript package on my doorstep. Inside was a USB drive. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I plugged it into my computer. To my shock, the drive contained video footage of me in my own home. I watched in horror as the camera panned from room to room, capturing every intimate detail of my life. Emma had been spying on me, and I felt violated in a way I never thought possible. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of the expected escalation, the messages and creepy incidents suddenly stopped. It was as if Emma had vanished into thin air. I was on edge, waiting for the next shoe to drop, but days turned into weeks, and I started to regain a sense of normalcy. Then, out of nowhere, I received an email. The subject line simply read, "I know how to make it all stop." The email contained a link to a video file. Hesitant but desperate for any resolution, I opened it. The video showed Emma, tearfully confessing to her actions, explaining that she had sought therapy and was genuinely remorseful. Skeptical, I did some digging and found that she had indeed checked into a mental health facility. The messages and incidents had ceased because she was getting the help she needed. It was a surreal moment of relief mixed with disbelief. I never expected the resolution to come from the very person causing my torment. It's been a few months since then, and I'm still cautious, but the nightmare seems to be over. I've learned the hard way that real-life horror stories don't always follow the script we expect. So, dear readers, let this be a cautionary tale. You never know how far someone might go when they're consumed by obsession, and sometimes the resolution comes from the last place you'd ever expect. Stay safe out there. I need to share this chilling experience that happened to me a few months ago. I never thought my breakup could take such a terrifying turn, but here we are. It all started when I decided to end things with my ex, Sarah. Our relationship had become toxic, and I needed to break free from the emotional roller coaster. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of the nightmare. After the breakup, Sarah didn't take it well. She bombarded me with calls and texts, begging for another chance. I tried my best to remain firm and not give in, but her desperation escalated. She started showing up at my workplace and even my favorite spots around town. One night, I came home to find a chilling note on my doorstep. It was written in red ink, and the words seemed to be scrawled in haste. The message was simple but sent shivers down my spine. "You can't escape me. We're meant to be together." I immediately called the police, but they couldn't do much without concrete evidence. Days passed, and the messages continued. They appeared on my car windshield, in my mailbox, and even slipped under my apartment door. Each time, the writing became more erratic, filled with rage and desperation. One evening, as I returned home, I found my apartment door ajar. My heart raced as I cautiously entered, fearing the worst. The inside was eerily quiet. Nothing seemed out of place, but the unsettling feeling lingered. As I walked into my bedroom, the air turned cold. There, on my bed, was a life-size doll that eerily resembled me. Its eyes were hollow, filled with a darkness that sent a chill down my spine. A note dangled from its lifeless fingers. "I'll always be with you, no matter where you go." I rushed out of my apartment, barely managing to hold back tears. The police were called again, but with no signs of forced entry and no direct threats, they couldn't do much. The next week, the situation escalated. I started receiving photos of myself, taken without my knowledge. They showed me walking down the street, sitting in cafes, and even at work. The realization hit me. She was stalking my every move. One day, I received a mysterious package at my doorstep. Inside was a USB drive. Nervously, I plugged it into my computer, and what I saw left me paralyzed with fear. It was a video compilation of me, unaware that I was being filmed, going about my daily life. The footage was intimate, invasive, and downright creepy. But the twist came when the video ended with a new message. "You thought you could escape, but you're always within my reach." Terrified, I sought help from a private investigator. They discovered that Sarah had installed hidden cameras in my apartment and had been tracking my every move for weeks. The police finally had enough evidence to issue a restraining order, and Sarah was arrested. However, the nightmare didn't end there. During the trial, Sarah's defense claimed she was suffering from severe mental health issues. As the court deemed her unfit for prison, she was committed to a psychiatric facility. To this day, I live in fear that she might be released one day. The violation of privacy, the psychological torment, and the feeling of never truly being safe. It's a horror story that continues to haunt me. Be careful who you trust, Reddit. You never know how dark a breakup can turn. If you survived the frights of Quick Scare, let us know in the comments which story left you sleepless, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more nightmares. Until next time, may your dreams be eerily sweet.